This presentation talks about the human connection to the cosmos. It was presented at midday on March 27, 2014 at the Tyler Unity Center in Tyler, Texas. This is a re-recording of the original presentation on that day. Let me begin by describing my own interest in the work of metaphysics, what is often described as intuitive human capabilities. We get the paper version of the Tyler paper. One weekend, a story in our local paper caught my attention. It was about Ms. Arleen Gregg, a woman who has these intuitive skills. You'll have to forgive my use of metaphysical vocabulary. I'm a Bible interpreter and not a metaphysicist. I thought the article's writer was balanced in her story, but what caught my attention was the quote from Reverend Anthony McLaughlin of the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, directly to the right of Ms. Gregg's photograph in the article. I've never met Reverend McLaughlin, and I don't know anything about him or his church. He says there's one of two options. She's either a con artist not talking to anyone, or it's something that's not from God. It could be a spirit masquerading as someone's grandmother. That's how they get that kind of information. The devil knows things that we don't. This distinction between the things Ms. Gregg and many others experience and practice, and Reverend McLaughlin's statements, for me, epitomize the gap between Christian religious and the subtle sciences from people like Ms. Gregg. These are 6 people's work that I have studied and found their work to be correct. Now, I don't agree with everything they say, and that's not because I necessarily disagree with some things they believe. It's because I agree that some important things they believe can be found in the interpretation of the Bible. To say the sky is blue is a true statement for humans. Whether it's said by an Egyptian priest or a Christian doesn't matter. The human retina is made to see the sky as blue. Each of these people have made statements that are true because the Bible interpreted, particularly the first 6 books of the Bible, establishes their statements as true. So let's look at some of these true statements. But before I begin, I have a criticism for my perception of the state of the metaphysical community's interpretation of humans and the cosmos. I hope you won't take offense to this, but it has to be said. I find a lot of the work fragmented. This person writes this book on one aspect of metaphysics. Another writes something else. There's no sure foundation that creates a unified understanding of metaphysical teaching. For me, the first 6 books of the Bible does that. It's highly structured Hebrew word structures written in a systematic way. This is Dr. Amit Goswami. He's a pioneer of the science of consciousness from the perspective of a quantum physicist. Quantum mathematics shows that the movement of things can only be described as possibilities. My own doctoral training is in fluid mechanics. My analyses is like many people's beliefs. Most things are highly predictable, but this is not the case. Professor Goswami's statement of a single determination of the fate of anything directly correlates with the books of Moses' concept of a determined destiny. Goswami asks the question, who or what chooses among these possibilities? Humans don't experience multiple destinies of themselves or the cosmos. So who is the chooser of destiny? The interpretation of the Bible has the answer to this question. Ms. Cindy Dale's Encyclopedia of the Subtle Body's Energy has become a classic publication on the energetic aspect of humans. It's a fact that the body and DNA rely on light for health. The light comes primarily in through the eyes. Other studies have shown that light spirals around DNA. When the DNA is removed in experiments, the light continues its spiraling pattern despite the absence of the DNA itself. And it's a fact that 60 to 65% of the cells of the heart are neural. This points to a thinking heart. Biblical interpretation must take into account these facts, these truths. It does no good to put on blinders and ignore hard evidence. You can establish the truth of these statements in the Bible. At the University of Kassel, humans emit light from their hearts, as many as 100,000 photons per second and more. Once again, these truths have to be accounted for in biblical interpretation by Christians and anyone else who wants to base their understanding on the Bible. Another popular metaphysicist is Drunvalo Melchizedek. These are quotes from his book on the secrets of the flower of life. He says the human body is a hologram of the universe and is based on the same principles. The tabernacle in the wilderness described in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers is a model of the cosmos and the human body. The boards on the sides of the tabernacle are called ribs. Drunvalo's sources of information are Egyptian. The Bible describes their gods as the Elohim of Egypt. The Egyptian academic's narration of the events at the Exodus of the Hebrew from Egypt is described in the Egyptian copper book written in Egyptian hieratic in 1500 BC. The Egyptian description of the beginning of the cosmos is the same as the one presented in the Old Testament. Light coming out of formless and void darkness in Genesis chapter 1 is a model form event of this first creation. Nassim Haramein's work on human history and archaeology has to be understood. In a granite pillar in Abydos at the Osirian Temple, the flower of life symbol is etched in the stone. But, as he says, it's laser burned into the atomic structure of the rock. This is not the conventional understanding we have of Earth history or Egyptian technology. This does not square with what most textbooks teach about human history in American schools. Satellite surveys of the Pyramid of Giza show that its center is 1/4 of an inch off. This is despite the fact the pyramid is made with 2.3 million stones, and it covers an area of 13 acres. Does this make sense relative to what we have been taught in conventional teachings of human history? Where did the Egyptians get this kind of understanding from? These are quotes from Mr. Alex Collier. Mr. Collier claims that from the age of 8 years he has been in constant communications with beings from the Andromedan galaxy. He claims that they have taught him what he knows about the cosmos and humans. I can't confirm or deny Mr. Collier's statements about where he gets his information from. I can say it's in the interpreted Hebrew text. It's true that humans are made of color, light, and sound. His unconventional and accurate statement about the basic form of humans is most interesting. The advancement of the soul is the principal thing of interest in the tabernacle structure in the wilderness of Sinai described in the first 6 books of the Bible. This also is true.